this is me. This is not how everyone else does it, or even how you should do it. But I've got a lot of Latino tenants, and a lot of the Guatemalan families are very transient. They're constantly looking for
work or moving for
not
jobs.
not so much work, but their own families. As other family members come in, they end up moving into another building or whatever. And so what ends up happening, and their culture doesn't understand that
grandma
you
can't
have a
come
contract,
move in with me.
right? Exactly.
Got it.
And so what ends up happening, what's happened before, is I show up because I'm active in all the buildings and I want to know who's there, and a guy coming in with a bag. I'm like, "Hi, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, blah, blah." Or he looks at me like, "Why am I telling you who I am?" And I'm like, "Well, I happen to own the joint. Sorry."
Right.
Sorry. And so he's like, "Oh." And so then I don't bother the person. I go talk to whoever it was. And so what ends up happening there is,
so the person on the lease is your go-to person.
Well, but then the conversation changes, because first you have to talk to them and say, "Hey, we agreed that you weren't going to bring someone without talking to me."
Right.
You get through that part, and then you decide, and you basically tell them, you can still be responsible for the money. What that'll do is it'll allow you to get these guys to be interchangeable.
Mm.
But if you want them to be responsible for a portion of the property, technically they always have rights. But if you want me to acknowledge them as a true tenant, then you can't be the master tenant.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right.
And so I don't do formal master tenant agreements, because it becomes a whole thing. But so I have conversations with them, and I talk to first I go and talk to whoever the point person was.
Yeah.
Say, "What's the deal?
Right.
Who's this?" And then in the beginning they all lie. "Oh, it's my cousin." They're always cousins, right?
Right.
And in reality, they create networks like everyone else, and it's probably somebody who needed a room, and he had extra space or a bedroom, and $1,000 is $1,000. I completely understand.
Right.
And so I just tell them, I said, "So what's your relationship? Do you think he's going to be here as long as you're going to be here? Do you expect him to leave before that?"
Right.
And they're like,